We're all on a journey through life. We're all moving somewhere and time is taking us there. But where are we going? How does the journey end? What am I looking for in life? And with all the different paths to choose, does it matter which one I pick? Is there a right way to live? People might drown out the fact that they're asking these questions with life, with jobs, with getting busy, with getting distracted with a million things. But those questions are always there. I think maybe that was why Jesus' first interaction with mankind in the Gospel of John was to ask a question. He saw two guys following him, turned around, looked at him and said, "What are you looking for?" So what are you looking for?
I want you to take a moment and think about that question, because all of us are looking for something. The older I get, I'm looking for things that I used to have that I lost someplace along the way. But you, where you are, you may be looking for things you've never had before. You're looking for something that you saw somebody else had, or something else that you read about, or maybe there's just some kind of drive inside you to look for something that maybe nobody else has ever found before. But we're all on a journey, this pursuit of looking for something. So for the next 6 weeks, it is our goal to help you find what you're looking for. Now, some of you aren't looking for anything, and maybe you should be. And some of you may be looking for the wrong thing. And that's why we want to submit ourselves to the Scriptures and try to figure out what should we be looking for. So if you've got your Bibles, we're going to be in this series, and it begins in Ephesians chapter 4, verses 17 is where we're going to begin our journey on this. But before I get there, I need to kind of lay some groundwork and some background for you, so that when we come to the Scriptures, it might make a little more sense. So I've got some volunteers that are going to come help me. So my tall volunteers are on their way. I've got one coming over here, so I've got some people going to help me today. Because what I need to build for you is a tangibility continuum, is what I've got to build for you. And I couldn't find one online, and so I'm going to make my own. And at least one of these people is excited to be here, and the others are probably not excited to be here that are going to help me. And so what I'm going to have you, I need two of you to stand over here, so I'll let you stand over here. I tried to find the tallest students I could. Don't show that sign yet, and you're going to stand right there. And then I need one over here that is over here. You get to hold that. Don't show anybody. Aren't you glad you dressed up and look nice today? That's good. And you're going to hold that over there. Now, don't let it go to your head, because that's not you, but I want you to see this. So a tangibility continuum. Let me get my clicker over here. I'm so excited to have good-looking people up here on the stage. So a tangibility continuum is something that allows us to identify what we're looking for. It allows us on this continuum. Now, I don't know if you know these terms, but the word tangibility is the word tangible, and from what we understand, it comes from the Latin to mean to touch. So these are things that we can actually touch. We can touch the television. We can touch this gentleman here. I can touch whatever it is. Tangible means to touch. In the French, it actually translates letter for letter, pronounced a little differently. If you're a French person, anybody know French very well on that kind of stuff? So I got one, I think it's tangible, or something like that. Is that close? Or something like that? It's kind of like y'all kind of run together, tangible, or something like that. I don't know French. I like their fries, but that's about all I understand about French. So tangible means to touch. It's perceptible, to perceive, but actually physically, tangibly do that. A continuum is a line or sphere or phrase where the things that are close together are very similar and the things far apart are radically different. So a continuum is kind of like a line, and these wonderful students, I tried to find the tallest ones I could find, and so these students are going to help us on the tangibility continuum, and on the far sides of the continuum, there's radical difference, but when they get closer to closer in the middle, those separations are not as perceptible, they're not as significant, but on the far sides, they are. So on the tangibility continuum, we would, as you would expect, have things that are tangible. perfect. And these things that are tangible are things of, and you're doing, that's really good. We didn't even practice, did we? And you're doing excellent. So tangible things are things of what I'm going to call the first degree. And these are things that you and I, from time to time, will look for, that if we find them, we will know we have found them because we can what? Touch them. These are things like keys. Have you ever lost your keys? Anybody ever lost their keys? You know when you've lost your keys what you're looking for. Let me just warn you, if you leave your keys here, we take your car. Just want you warned about it, okay? One of the staff members, we take a rotation. If somebody leaves their keys, hey, that's our car this week, and then we'll take. No, we don't do that. We take your car and sell it, and then we take the money and do something else with it. But these are things that you find that once you find them, you go, aha, these are my keys, and you touch them, and you go, aha, that's what it is. So there are things that people are looking for. Sometimes they've lost them. Sometimes they've never had them, but once they find them, they're tangible. So for instance, you can either look for your keys or you can look for why. Well, that's probably not good to say wives. Let me fix that. But you're looking for a spouse, right? Okay, instead of wives, that's not right. We shouldn't do that. But some of you, at some point in your life, you were looking for a spouse. I did singles ministry in churches. And what I noticed about my singles ministry in churches, about every 4 months, the whole thing kind of turned over. Because the people who came either got married and moved to the marriage ministry, or they went to another church, to their singles ministry. Don't know why that was, but it was something I kind of observed time after time after time. Because some people are on a search for a spouse. Now, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand about this because we might be able to make a little love connection here, but I'm not going to do that. But some of you are looking for a spouse. Now, I'm not saying you're looking for a new spouse, getting rid of the one that you have, though some of you may be doing that, and I'd like to talk to you before you do that because that leads to a whole train wreck at some point. But once you have a spouse, you'll be able to touch your spouse. And you go, ta-da, this is him, this is her, this is my spouse. Those things are tangible. Others of you are looking for a job. And a job is something that's tangible. You can go to your job, you can flip the burger, you can touch the computer screen, you can do all those things that are tangible. And so on our tangibility continuum, there are things that are touchable that people are looking for. Keys, spouses, or jobs. You get that? Does that make sense? Then, a little further away from tangible, we move to things that are, great, she did a wonderful job, that are semi-tangible. And these are things that I call of the second degree. Okay? Are you doing something while I'm not paying attention? Oh, my goodness. All right. So these are things that are semi-tangible, things that you can kind of touch, but you really can't touch at the same time. I can touch my keys, but I really can't touch the driving experience. Okay? Now, there are certain things you can touch in a driving experience, but you're probably looking for your keys so that you can have a driving experience, so that you can either drive from point A to point B, or so that people can see you drive from point A to point B. Because some of you are driving vehicles that make absolutely no sense for you to be driving. I've seen some of you. Some of you, you bring a little ladder out, and you have to climb up the ladder because your truck is 8 feet off the ground, right? And you're just driving that thing, and yes, you're driving from point A to point B, but you're experiencing something different than just driving. You're experiencing looking down on all the little people as you drive past them with your truck, right? You also experience miles to the gallon is what you experience. Well, the rest of us experience gallons to the mile. You're doing it, or got that backwards, whatever it is, on those kind of things. Others of you, your driving experience is that you've plugged your car in to an outlet, right? Or you drive a Prius, and so you only stop every 7,000 miles to put fuel in your vehicle, passing the guy in the truck 12 times on the way across the street. That's a different kind of experience. But you're going for the driving experience and your key. Yes, you can drive your steering wheel, you can touch the car, you can listen, but you're really doing something else. And some of you, your driving experience is about 6 centimeters off the ground because your Lamborghini or your Ferrari or whatever it is gives you that experience. And so there's aspects of that that are tangible that you can touch, and there's aspects that you can't touch. For instance, part of the reason, I think at least, that you look for a spouse is so that you might have a good marriage. Now, what is a good marriage? Can you touch a good marriage? Can you tactilely feel a good marriage? Well, there are certain things that you can touch in a marriage, in that relationship, that are good, but a lot of it is this kind of intangible thing. In addition to that, you're looking for a job, but some of you are looking for something more than a job. You're looking for a career. And you may be able to touch the job, but you can't touch the career because it's semi-tangible. Does that make sense to you? You understand what I'm saying on this? There's some things I can touch, some things I can kind of touch, and then there are some things that are, boom, love it, that are intangible. These are things that are what I would call to the third degree. So we got the first degree, tangible, second degree, semi-tangible, and then there's the intangible factor, because when you get your keys and you get in your car to drive, you're feeling success because you're driving something nobody else can afford. Happened to be at the Branson High School football game this past week. Great game. A lot of things to cheer for our team. Excellent first half. So we got some great players. Thank you for sacrificing on that. But there is a guy driving around at a high school football game, and I don't know if it was a Ferrari or if it was a Lamborghini. Now, if that's you here today, just ignore what I'm saying. But if you're driving a Ferrari at a high school football game, you've got some serious issues in your life. Because if you're trying to impress the high schoolers, you just did, but they're high schoolers. And so why are you driving your Ferrari or your Lamborghini or whatever it was with the yellow brakes or whatever, all that kind of stuff? My children will say, oh, look at this car and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably some pastor from someplace. He's just here for the weekend or something, and he's just showing off. But that guy's driving experience, the reason he got his keys is not just to have a driving experience, but somehow when you drive a Ferrari or Lamborghini or whatever it was, you are feeling successful because everybody looks at you, right? Now, I've driven cars that people look at me, but it's not because of the success that I've had in the car. But either way, he's feeling something that is intangible. It's not really there. You can't touch it, but it's there. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, everybody, you know it's there, but you can't touch it. In addition to that, some people are looking for not just a spouse, but a good marriage, but contentment in their relationship. And they're going, aha. I mean, how many of you today, if you lost your spouse now through some horrible idea, that you would say, I am never going through that again? Some of you would say, I have been with this person long enough, I have trained them, I have no energy to start over again, right? And so I'm not going to do that. Well, you find that contentment, that experience, or through your job, through your career, you think you will find, or you're looking for happiness. And maybe you signed up because, it looks really to be happy to be a teacher, and it just looks so cute, and all the kids are there, and you think you're going to find happiness in that, or if you're a surgeon or whatever it is, and you try to find happiness with this. And these are the three things that are to the intangible, the third degree. So tangible, your arm's getting tired yet over there? Okay, no, she's tough. All right, so tangible, first degree, semi-tangible, second degree, third degree, intangible, and all of us are on searches for certain ones of these things. But what I want to challenge you to think about, because I think it's true that there is a fourth degree, something beyond these three. In fact, let's kind of rearrange you. I'm going to have you come stand over here by the third degree, all right, by the second degree. You are the third degree. Has anybody ever given you the third degree? Probably, maybe so. And then there's this fourth degree, and the fourth degree is don't fall off steps, way over there. And most people end up trying to find these three. Now remember, the tangibility continuum says that the things that are closer together are more alike, right? Remember that on the continuum? And the further things are, and we would put him outside, but it's raining, and as sweet as he is, he would start to melt. So we're going to keep him inside. But if we were to go to the fourth degree, it is way over there, and it really is the things that people are looking for. It really is what provides life and experience and joy, but most of the time, people don't even know it's there because they're consumed with finding those first three things. And what is that fourth thing that's somewhere beyond where everybody is looking is the only thing that brings value. It's the only thing that brings life. It's the only thing that brings all these things we've talked about, and it is God. And Noah is not it, by the way. He sometimes thinks he is it, but he is not it. But I'm not talking about just God. I'm talking about an intimate and dynamic relationship with our Creator. Because here's the deal. All of us are in this room together, and we came with the family, many of us, and we'll go home with the family, but there's something that happens on the inside of us, in our mind, in our heart, in our spirit, that nobody else can experience what goes on in our own heart and our life. People can look at it, they can be around it, but there's something else on the inside. And ultimately, unless we have a dynamic and intimate relationship with God, with our Creator, there is something that is radically wrong on the inside of us as we question and as we think. So in this series, what I want to challenge all of us to think about is while we're looking for our keys so that we can have the driving experience, that we can find success in life and people think we're something, there really is something that's deeper. And that thing that is deeper is the only thing that can solve our problems and solve our issues, and that is the pursuit of God. Would you thank our students for helping us today? Thank you guys, appreciate that very much. That's all right. Get it to me after the service, that's okay. That's your pay if you would like that, that would be fine. So where do I find that? Well, it's not that I just sat around and came up with this, it's actually found in the Bible. And this verse is going to be kind of our foundation as we begin a series designed to help us pursue this God, that we might have an intimate and dynamic relationship with Him, because that's the only thing that will find ultimate peace, ultimate happiness, ultimate contentment. And it's an intangible that is there, but yet we can't touch it, and yet it's just as real. He is just as real as, if not more real, than the keys that you hold in your hand, the spouse that you cuddle with, or the job that you'll go back to this afternoon or tomorrow. Where do we discover all this? Well, Paul is talking to his church, a church in the city of Ephesus, and in Ephesians chapter 4, this morning, you and I in verse 17 get to listen in on what Paul says to that church that people really are, and what they were looking for in that day, and what you and I are looking for today, and it's found in these verses. Here's what he writes. He says, "Now this I say," Paul, an apostle, has an authority, a deeper authority than any spiritual person has, an authority not like a pastor, more than a pastor, but he has this deep authority. But he doesn't just say that based on my authority I tell you this. He says based on my authority and my testimony, or what I'm going to say, is actually in the Lord as well. So he's arguing what I'm about to say is really, really important. It's not just that I say it, it's that I say it and it's confirmed in the teachings of our Lord. He says that you should no longer walk as the Gentiles do. Now, Paul's using here shorthand to talk about the other guy. We all have other guy kind of people in our life. They're the them in our life. We look at them and go, wow, look how messed up they are. I don't want to be that guy. For the Jewish person, they had a terminology for that. Then they called them Gentiles because they thought, rightly so to some degree, that they were God's chosen people. They were, but they thought they were chosen because they were better, or maybe they didn't think that, but it ended up feeling like that, so that if you weren't a part of them, you were a part of the bad guys. If you're not an us, you're a them. And so the Gentiles are all those other people that are not us. Now, I don't know who Gentiles are in your world. I don't know who those are the people that you look at and go, there's no way. That's the bad guy. That's the antithesis of what we're supposed to be doing. I don't know who those people are. But Paul's saying to the Jews, whoever those people are, you should not walk like them. Now, this is not where we get walk like an Egyptian from. This is not where this comes from. This is no longer walk, and walk here means no longer live. Don't operate. Don't live your life the way that the Gentiles do. Well, how do they live their life? Well, they live their lives in the futility of their mind. This word means lack of truth in the Greek. It means inappropriate. He says to them, don't look at the world, don't look at the Gentiles and live like them, because they don't understand. They don't get it. They don't have the truth in order to live their life the way that they're thinking. They're doing that without having the truth. They are darkened in their understanding. I've gotten to the age now that it is difficult to read a little bit because they're making everything smaller in print. I've told you about this in the past, this kind of tragic thing that was happening. And I remember that when I was growing up, I would be able to sit there in the dark and almost read, and my parents would say, turn on some lights, you can't read that. Well, they weren't concerned about me. They couldn't see me reading in the dark because they were old like I am old now. Because you know when things get darker, it's more difficult to see. I mean, at night you recognize those things. And he's saying to them, listen, their understanding, The way that they're approaching life, the things that they're searching for, they're darkened in their understanding. Their minds are futile. They're limited in what they can do. They are alienated from the life of God because of their ignorance that is in them. Now, careful. The word ignorance has nothing to do with intelligence. Ignorance is not about a person's not smart or a person's not intelligent. It's not that. It's that a person does not know. They are uninformed. In fact, the word here is agnosis, the word that we get agnostic, which is to mean not to know. Gnosis means knowledge in the Greek, and to put an A in front of something in the Greek means the opposite of it. And so these are people, they just simply don't know. Have you ever gone someplace to a new place and you show up and you don't know the rules of the new place? You don't know how it operates, and everybody else has been there before, or you're on vacation and you're someplace new and you don't know where does the line start, where does the line end? Am I supposed to go into a restaurant? Do I wait to be seated? Do I go be seated? Do I go stand in line? I just don't know. It's not that I'm dumb, it's that I just don't know. Well, he's saying they don't know because their hardness of their heart. See, it works like this. God, when we are a young age, presents himself to us in various circumstances, in various contexts, in various ways, and whether or not we receive that in openness and take a step toward him, he will grant to us another step. If we say no and reject that, our heart becomes a little bit harder to that, so much so that over time, again and again, us rejecting the knowledge of God that we know, our heart becomes harder and harder and harder, and the gospel message finds it more difficult to penetrate, and it's more difficult to respond to him because we keep saying no. In fact, some of you have been saying no so long to God that he may be close to quit asking because you've said no so often. It's a very dangerous place to be. The hardness of heart, they have become callous. Callous, you know what callous means? It's when you're trying to learn to play guitar and the strings hurt your fingers, or it's like my hands are really milky soft because I don't really go outside much, but some of you actually work for a living and you swing hammers and you do strong stuff. You have these calluses that used to cause pain, but they don't now because your body has this response to them, and so it keeps them kind of rough, so there's no sensitivity. Well, what happens to the person who keeps rejecting God is they want to feel something, and they aren't able to feel the things that they should feel out of God, so they give themselves up to sensuality, wanting to feel something. They want more and more thrill, and they're greedy to practice every kind of impurity. That's what's happened in our culture. See, in our culture, what gave us a thrill was to cheat on our spouse. That used to give the thrill, and so we would do that. But now it's not cheating on your spouse, it's cheating on your spouse with somebody else's spouse, because that's more of a thrill. And now it's not that, it's when I'm going to cheat with somebody of my own gender, because that's more shocking and that's more thrilling. And now we're to the point that gender is being made irrelevant, because you can just choose your gender and be whatever it is. What is happening? It is that we're trying to find feeling in something, and we need more and more and more, just like the junkie needs more and more and more. And that's what happens to the Gentile world. Now notice what he says about us, quickly. And I don't have time to unpack all this. We're at the beginning of the series, so we'll be in this over the next couple of weeks. But he said, that's not the way that you learned Christ. Now don't let learned Christ throw you. It's not about learning, it's about coming to know. That Greek word can mean learn, it's a process, or come to know. But he's saying, that's not the way you came to know Christ. It wasn't that you didn't have a thrill, so you needed more thrill, you needed more. That's not the way that you came to Christ. You learned to Christ in a different way. And he kind of knocks them a little bit, going, hey, you should already know this, assuming that you've heard about him and were taught in him. As the truth is in Jesus, and this is where I've got to go fast in this, to put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of this life and is corrupted through deceitful desires. He basically says this, you were like the Gentiles, but now you traded your old self for a new self in Christ, so why in the world are you acting like you used to be? You're no longer that person. You should have a new self, so you should be acting in new ways, not the ways of the world. You shouldn't be following the world. You should be setting a trend to go the opposite direction of the world, the deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit, or really the attitude, of your minds, and to put on this new self that is created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and true holiness. We're going to have to come back to that and unpack that a little bit more. But let me kind of show you where this ends up in this tangibility continuum. The under-resourced underbeliever goes through life thinking that if I just had a little bit more, then I'll find what I'm looking for. If I just had a little bit more, and because he never has enough, he always has something else that he wants that he can't afford, that he can't reach. There's a country song out there. I know you don't listen to country music. I understand that. It's just 3 chords in the truth. I understand. But I was listening to country music the other day, and there's this whole song about this guy who knows that money can't buy everything. But the song goes on to say, but money can buy me a boat, right? Can't buy everything, but it can buy me a boat, and it can buy me a truck to pull it. And then he goes through all this list of things that money can buy, and he kind of goes, well, maybe it can buy happiness, right? Well, the under-resourced unbeliever goes through life never being able to max out the thrill and always convincing himself that there's another thrill to appeal to, and if I could get to that thrill, then my life would be content. If I can move from my small truck to my big truck, life would be great. If I can take my little paddle boat and move to a real boat, then life would be great. And he spends the rest of his life trying to reach something, and he never reaches it because he never has enough resources. But he's convinced that he could if he ever found it. So he's looking for something beyond what he can do. Now, the well-resourced unbeliever, he has enough resources that whatever he wants, he goes and buys, or he goes and takes. And ultimately, he comes to the point that he's purchased everything, he's bought every experience, he has everything underneath the sun, just like Solomon did, and comes to the conclusion that life is meaningless, that vanity of vanities. He comes to this moment of desperation. Now, for believers, something similar happens, although not the same thing. Here's what happens to us. If we unconnect the things that we do in this world, the Sundays of our life, from the rest of our week, if we separate a relationship with God from our Monday morning and how we do our business, how we interact with people, if we separate those, the thing of this following God thing becomes dissatisfying. And people will drop out of church. Well, the church just doesn't have anything for me, and the preacher's not any good, and I don't like the music, and I don't like this, and that person was mean to me, and they looked at me. And if they separate what we're trying to do here from the rest of their life, they become dissatisfied, and then they go following the same path of the Gentile, looking for more thrill and more thrill. And maybe that's where you are today. You know Jesus, you've trusted God, but life just doesn't have any satisfaction, and so you're thinking, well, if I can just do this, if I can shoot this in a golf game and get that score, or if I could have this car or this job, and you're constantly pushing for something, which is not wrong to do, unless you think that that's going to provide what you can't find except for finding in God. The connected believer, however, who connects Sunday, if you will, shorthand for this experience of following God, the believer who connects all of that discovers a life of mission, a life of calling and purpose, who recognize that success is not found in stuff, success is not found in position, it's not found in little stickers on your wall of how good you are, it's found in a pursuit of God. So here's what I'm going to try to pull out of all of us over the next 5 weeks in the series. That I'm going to pursue, and this was the quote that Mr. soon-to-be Dr. Rappenchuk gave us last week. And the last line says, because you have made us, God, and drawn us to yourself, our heart is unquiet until it rests in you. Got to keep moving. But what I want to push you to is a pursuit of the fourth. Not a pursuit of the force, not an awakening of the force, but a pursuit of this fourth degree of searching for something that is beyond you. And what is that? It is an intimate, dynamic relationship with your Creator, because that really is what you really are looking for. Would you bow your heads and close your eyes this morning? You're like, no, dude, I've lost my keys. That's what I'm looking for. Well, okay, maybe so. And we'll try to help you find your keys, and we'll look around the building and lost and found and all that kind of stuff. Hey, no, I'm not really looking for God. I'm just looking for a successful life. I'm just looking for a spouse, and just help me with that. I want a good Christian girl to take care of me, all that kind of stuff. Hey, listen, those things may be true, and you may need help finding some of those tangible things. But there's some people in this room who are pursuing something, and they don't know what they're pursuing, and I think it may be God. In fact, the only way you can pursue Him is if He's pursuing you. And the Bible teaches us that He pursues us. And those who do not turn away from Him, those who do not reject Him, He continues to pursue. And so maybe today the things that you're looking for can only be found in a dynamic, intimate relationship with your Creator. I'm not talking about another Sunday morning experience. I'm not talking about coming to church. I'm not talking about those things. But the thing that you're really searching for is beyond who you are. And the only way that you'll ever find contentment and happiness in the things that you want to find are only found in a relationship with Him. And so maybe today the symptoms that you've been experiencing are just pointing you to Him. Or maybe there's something else. Maybe you should be pursuing Him. In these moments, I'm going to pray and ask you to consider, what is it that you really are looking for? Father, we're thankful that you call us to you. Help us to pursue you with all that we have. For only when we find you will we find the happiness and experience what we need to experience in you. Father, for the one who's looking for something, or who thinks they know what they're looking for, or maybe the one who doesn't know what they're looking for, may today be a day that they recognize that what they're looking for is a relationship with you, the Creator, found only in Jesus Christ. Father, help us to pursue you, pursue this fourth degree of reality, pursue you in all things for the benefit of those who have to live around us, but most importantly, for your glory. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. I'm going to ask you to stand to your feet. We're going to sing a song of response, a song of reflection. You come. If you need someone to pray for you, if you need more understanding of this, you come as we stand together and as we sing.